Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzon. Here are the big stories we're tracking for you at midday. About 140 terrorists convicted for various heinous crimes, according to the Solicitor General of the Federation. Federal government holds a review meeting to assess a sector-wide approach in delivering quality health care at sub-national level. And Democratic nominee Kamala Harris concedes defeat, commits to peaceful transfer of power, but says the fight that fueled the campaign continues. Thanks again for joining us on the program, your midday gateway to what is going on in the politics. So let's get things off the ground with a scorecard from the Ministry of Justice, saying it has secured the conviction of 140 terrorists, while 540 terrorism and banditry cases have so far been completed. The Solicitor General of the Federation, Mrs. Beatrice Jedi-Agba, stated this when she received the House Committee on Justice on an oversight visit. Meanwhile, the House Committee on Defense, during a similar oversight to the Defense Space Administration, says it is considering legislation to improve the funding for defense outside the general budgetary provision. Our correspondent, Terry Ikumi, has a report.
Following suspension of plenary for 2 weeks, the National Assembly committees have intensified their oversight on MDAs. The House Committee on Justice visits the Nigerian Communications Commission, where the menace of copyright infringement was a focal point.
We now have the copyright levy running. Unfortunately, because the account is not domiciled with us, and we're not the ones, the primary point of collection, all we can say here will be more like information made available to us.
This point was further emphasized by the committee chairman while speaking to journalists at the end of the visit.
We're going to go back and see how they can get more funding, and then there's a corporate levy that they've not had access to. We want to review that and find out why the corporate levy being collected in conjunction with customs, they're not getting access to it.
The next stop for the committee was the Ministry of Justice. After a quick inspection of the facilities at the ministry, the Solicitor General gives an update on the fight against terrorism and banditry.
We have been able to successfully conclude the prosecution and secured conviction of 140 terrorists at the Wawa cantonment in Kainji, Niger State. We have concluded 540 terrorism financing and banditry cases. We have arraigned and are currently prosecuting 858 criminal cases, and also currently profiling over 1,522 terrorism and terrorism financing cases.
Meanwhile, the House Committee on Defense was on an oversight visit to the Defense Space Administration. The Chief of Defense Space Administration reels out the role of the DSA to the nation's security as the committee chairman harps on the need for improved funding for the military.
The DSA mission is to support the armed forces of Nigeria and other security agencies with relevant space products and solutions necessary for the conduct of our operation in peace and wartime.
The House has introduced innovative legislation aimed at revolutionizing and funding the Nigerian defense sector. Key among this is the Nigerian Armed Forces Support Fund Bill.
The intensification of oversight to MDAs by the National Assembly committees is in preparation for the 2025 budget and to improve the budgeting process in the country. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
The Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed has expressed his confidence in the Nigerian security forces' ability to contain insecurity or challenges in the country within 1 month, provided they are equipped with the necessary resources. The governor made a statement during a meeting with participating Course 33 from the National Defense College, who were in Bauchi for a study tour led by the Commandant Rear Admiral Olumuyiwa Olotu. Governor Mohammed acknowledged the important role of the Defense College in training participants to address national security challenges, emphasizing the need for adequate support towards success.
As a school, you have made us proud because you are the only attestation or manifestation of our supremacy of our highly coveted place on the African continent as leaders on the West African subcontinent and as an emerging economy on the African continent by providing level playing fields for people from all over the world to come and train. That has shows recognition to our quality and standards. And this is what the Nigerian army are known for. It is really a paradox that today we are bombarded with Boko Haram and petty misdemeanors in terms of crime and criminality. I believe that the Nigerian army, given the resources that we should give you, will be able to deal with the situation within 1 month. And therefore, we believe a day will come when you will be given the rightful responsibility and attention so that Nigeria will be secured.
And more stories around security. The FCT commander of the Nigerian Police Force has arrested 3 suspects for alleged car snatching and armed robbery within the nation's capital and its environs. The FCT Commissioner of Police, Mr. Olatunji Disu, stated this while parading the suspect at the command's headquarters in Gariki area of Abuja. Mr. Disu explains that operatives acting on intelligence arrested the gang leader, one Ajay Thomas from Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, alongside 2 other members of his gang, including Amobi Ndukwe, and that is from Enugu State, and Amechi Samson from Owerri in Imo State.
Our officers, acting on credible intelligence, trailed and arrested these 3 suspects. Ajay Thomas, 32, from Goza local government, Borno State. Anobi Ndukwe, 40, from Angu local government, Enugu State. Amechi Samson, 26 years old, from Imo State. The 3 of them belong to a notorious 4-man gang who specialize in armed robbery and car snatching. This particular gang operates within the Federal Capital Territory, Nasarawa, Kaduna, and Kano states. The gang is led by one Chidebere, who is currently at large. Their mode of operation includes following suspects to areas that are very, very conducive for them, where they will strike and dispossess them of their vehicles. This is a very, very good recovery for us in the command because we have been inundated with complaints of one chance almost everywhere. We have been having complaints about being robbed by people who snatched their phones and properties with knives. We are very happy to say that we have been able to arrest 12 of them, and this is a significant number to us. We will not stop on our oasis to continue to look out and effect the arrest of these miscreants.
Let's continue our spotlight on things that are happening outside our shores, where the United States Vice President and Democratic Party nominee Kamala Harris has put a call across to President-elect Donald Trump, congratulating him and conceding defeat. She believes a core principle of democracy requires accepting an election result when one loses, but says the fight that failed the campaign will, however, continue. Harris admonished her supporters who gathered at Howard University not to despair, but continue to shine the light by treating one another with kindness and respect, and told the young girls in the audience not to accept the word impossible simply because it's not been done before.
Not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright. As long as we never give up and as long as we keep fighting. Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background united by love of country with enthusiasm and joy in our fight for America's future. And we did it with the knowledge that we all have so much more in common than what separates us. But we must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
And that's exactly where we're going to start from. It's been a while. The last time we saw this kind of scenario play out in Nigeria was 2014, 2015, when Goodluck Jonathan, then president, put a call across to Muhammadu Buhari, then a general, conceding defeat. So it's just refreshing to see this happen in America. Donald Trump himself did not do this the last time. That's why they call him the election denier. But that is going to be the fulcrum of our conversation. What this means for America, but especially to all of us outside America as far as global politics is concerned. We're being joined in the program by a lecturer from the Department of International Relations, Lagos State University, Dr. Dapo Thomas. Dr. Thomas, thank you so much for coming on the program.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Let's begin from the latest, because we know now that the Republican Party are trying to control both chambers of Congress. I think they already have their headway in Senate, and let's see how it all plays out in the House. But let's talk about the presidential election. It was a landslide victory for Donald Trump, a big comeback for him. 69 electoral college votes ahead of Kamala Harris. Popular votes about 4.7 million. So it's big win, whichever you want to look at, whether raw votes from the population or electoral college votes. But we watch how she received this result with grace and candor. I want you to start from that particular point when it comes to accepting election results, no matter how it plays out in the West, and what this means to democracy.
Well, I think it's a standard and a very cardinal procedure or principle in the United States as espoused by their founding fathers, that in any situation, they should always make sure that the electoral process in the US, or possibly give the impression to the world that the electoral process or election in the United States is a sacrosanct thing, that nobody, you understand, it may not be a kind of rule, but it's a principle that you should not challenge. Once the election has been done, has been conducted, it is sacrosanct upon every competitor or contestant to accept defeat, or to concede defeat, or to and then to accept the defeat by congratulating the opponent. And you will see that, except Trump, this has been the tradition. The only person who has not done it in history, that's by my own history, by the history of the United States, which I know, this has only been Trump. I think when it affected Al Gore, he actually wanted to challenge the Texas result, but he was reminded rather of the principle, of the cardinal principle of their founding fathers, that no, do not escalate whatever, do not escalate the election trouble, the election problems in the United States. And then, as a Democrat, he withdrew the case. And that was it, and he congratulated his opponent. Unfortunately, this was not done during the time of Biden. When he won the election, Trump did not congratulate him. He still maintains that he won the election.
I'm happy you reminded us.
We can say.
Just a moment. I'm happy you reminded us that Trump he left that WhatsApp group, just like Nigerian politicians as well. They are not in that WhatsApp group of accepting defeat. He will go all the way to the Supreme Court. But I remember the words of Al Gore. I remember him clearly as the president of the Senate. Then he said, I do not agree with the election result, but I accept it. But let's move on, Doctor, so that we can cover as many grounds as possible. I reeled out the numbers in terms of difference to highlight the landmark. 69 electoral college votes ahead of Kamala Harris. 4.7 or so million popular votes ahead of Kamala Harris. What do you think the electorate insisted on with the results we saw?
Well, going by so many indices, I saw that democracy played a part, economy played a part, abortion played a part. So many variables played a part in the election. Unfortunately, how it now got to the level where about 59 or 60 something, between 50 and 60 something percent women now voted for Trump is baffling. Is baffling. And then, most of them, substantial percentage of them are women. I mean, white women. And that shows you that there was more to the election than met the eye. I want to believe that racism played a part and sexism played a part. A large chunk of women or a large chunk of white women actually did not want Harris. Why? Because they are not ready to accept a black person to rule them. Well, we can also say that Hillary Clinton is a white woman and she was denied. I mean, she was not voted for. She was not accepted. No, you cannot compare the two scenarios because Hillary Clinton made the majority votes, only the electoral college that she did not make. So, but in this case, it was so obvious that there were so many forces against Harris. And then most of the men who did not vote for her also have their own sexist posture. They have their own sexist problem. And I believe these two factors are very, very unfortunate when we are talking when we are talking about America, because the image or the impression most of us have about the United States is that things are so ideal, they are so ideal in such a society. So when you still hear of racism in election, when you still hear of sexism in election, it's very baffling and troubling. I believe the United States should have gone beyond these two levels because it's unfortunate. These are things that we talk about in our own client. When we talk of, people should not vote on the basis of ethnicity. So if a nation whose civilization or whose independence goes over 200 years plus, and then we are just about something, and we are still preaching to them about some of these values, some of these things that no, these are not elements that should be that should play a part in any electoral process in the United States. It's such a sensitive nation and such a strategic nation like the United States. When you have
Doctor, just a button. Would you now say because of this analysis you did in terms of what played out, especially white women voting for Trump as against Hillary Clinton, America may not be a great example when it comes to our analytics of what sentiment we should use to vote in an election, because we'll be thinking that big issues that are not gender-based or race-based, like the economy and all of that, should have been the bigger issue here.
Well, I would have agreed to your position. I would have agreed with you. Unfortunately, one of the presidential historians who had predicted about 10 outcomes of presidential election got it right on 9 times he got it right. Only once that he missed it. And that was the Al Gore issue. He missed it. Unfortunately, this time around, he set up 13 criteria by which he normally decides or he normally determines who will win the election. I did not see sexism there. I didn't see racism there. And unfortunately, these are two extraneous elements and sentiments that infiltrated into the criteria platform. And unfortunately, these two sentiments made that prediction not to come to pass. Because if the 13 indices had been used, then the prediction would have come to pass. It would have been Hillary. I mean, it would have been Harris, Kamala Harris. Unfortunately, because of extraneous elements, two extraneous elements that are fundamental to certain individuals, you understand? Because he was not being individualistic, he was being generalistic. He was looking at variables, he was looking at indices, he was looking at factors and elements that will play a part in the kind of social connectivity between the electors and the candidates. Unfortunately, this time around, those two elements did not allow the prediction to come to.
All right, Doctor, I want us to bring it home because we can talk about the issue of abortion, we can talk about the issue of geopolitics, Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, Russia, Ukraine, we can talk about immigration and all of that. But let's bring it home, what lessons we can learn from all of this, and what the Trump presidency yet again means for Nigeria-US relations, and maybe by extension, Africa-US relations.
Unfortunately, I don't think there are good lessons to learn. Because if we are going to learn some lessons, then why should we be learning lessons from a society, from a system whereby a felon, a convicted person, a convict, has been made the president? What kind of lesson? I mean, over here, you can recollect what happened to Tinubu. This man had never been convicted, but there were allegations. And he had been tried. There are evidence that he has been tried for about 2-3 times by by EFCC, by so many boroughs and so many courts, and he won all those things. But those things were still prevalent when he was contested. People were still talking about all these things when they did not even have anything to say again. They now went into certificate saga. So these are things that we cherish here. So it means we are now saying that our own values are even more important, more sacrosanct, more substantial than what they have over there. Because if you have somebody like this kind of criminal criminal profile, and then he's the president, what lesson do you want to learn from such a society? It's unfortunate that the American society has debased itself, has demeaned itself to this level that no lesson could be learned from this particular episode, unfortunately. So this particular one, for instance, if I'm not a student of history or if I'm not a teacher of history, I would have said that, this is Trump is a wrong history of America. But because I've read about George Washington, John Adams, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson and co and everything. So I have seen that these are very good leaders. Abraham Lincoln. All right, Prof. But unfortunately, it is a wrong history. This is a wrong history.
All right. Well, Doctor, maybe I don't know how their judicial system looks at these things, but in 30 seconds, we're totally out of time. The second leg of my question is, what would this mean to the Nigeria-US relations and Africa-US relations? Now we know he's president-elect, 47th president of the United States of America.
No, irrespective of how he came to power, the trade relations will continue. Maybe the political relations will have to be modified or moderated upon, But like I said, the trade relations will continue. Diplomatic relations will continue. It doesn't stop anything. It has something to do with the conduct of election. The conduct of elections simply is a domestic problem, But international relations, relationships transcend domestic conduct or domestic happenings. So we still have very good relations with them, and you can see that our president has even congratulated him.
Yeah.
So the business continues. The business goes on.
Dr. Dakbar Thomas, lecturer in the Department of International Relations, Lagos State University. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program. Thank you for your insight.
You're welcome.
Just before we go, the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, has launched what he's described as a draft copy of Nigeria's first State of Health report, a comprehensive compilation of data from various surveys and departments aimed at understanding public perception of the healthcare system. Professor Pate, who unveiled the report at the first joint annual meeting or review meeting of health sector, says recommendations and inputs will be made to report which will be presented to President Bola Tinubu for approval and onward presentation to Nigerians. Also revealed that the event is the approval of the $198 million by the Independent Review Committee of Gavi to Sector-Wide Approach Initiative.
It's over 1 year since the Minister of Health adopted the sector-wide approach, an idea birthed from the Nigerian Health Sector Renewal Investment Initiative, which focuses on driving key priorities like enhanced governance and quality healthcare system. The sector-wide approach, which ensures collaboration of all stakeholders, is underpinned by 4 broad pillars: 1 plan, 1 budget, 1 report, and 1 conversation. Within the 1 conversation pillar, the Minister of Health, Professor Ali Pate, is leading health sector stakeholders, government representatives, and traditional leaders to the first joint annual review meeting to reflect on the progress so far.
Through the swap coordinating office led by Dr. Montega, all the states have now developed their AOPs, costed them with gaps identified. So for our partners, that's the basis for aligning with us. On key population health outcomes, under 5 mortality, looking at the DHS data, has reduced by 16.7% from 2018 to late 2023 when the DHS was conducted. Significant improvement in infectious diseases, ranging from 40% reduction in diarrheal diseases, 24% reduction in TB, 12% in HIV. This is as a population. It's between the 2 DHSs, 2018 and 2023. So despite the pervasive sense that there are difficult challenges, but Nigeria is beginning to move, which with this political commitment, we can accelerate that in the right direction.
Over the last year, we have prioritized our ability to implement what we all signed up to. We have had quarterly state dialogues focusing on 40 core indicators that represent our biggest bets in terms of drastically reducing maternal, neonatal, and under 5 mortality.
Delivering goodwill messages, stakeholders harped on the need for accountability across board, more funding for the sector, and commitment to improving maternal and child health.
The SDG 2 and 3 will only be attainable if Nigeria moves the needle. So Nigeria has so much responsibility, and we as the partner multilateral agencies, we are behind you to support the initiative.
Gavi, through its independent review committee, has already approved 195 million that is aligned to the swap. And this is because we truly believe that the swap is something that we need to support and lean behind.
Accountability is key to the success of the swaps. And it is our sincere hope that this effort will be holding ourselves individually and collectively accountable.
We are determined to support the policies and to support this with not just with our words, but with our backing, with the budgets.
It is expected that the outcome of conversations at this review meeting will deepen multi-sectoral collaboration across MDAs, state governments, and development partners towards achieving the objectives of the Health Sector Renewal Initiative. From Abuja, Victoria Longjohn for Channels Television News.
And that's it on the program. Thanks for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Bye-bye.